That is one of the greatest gifts you can give. It's not your title. It's not your strategy. It's not your confidence. It's your attention, your humanity, and your presence. I remember the moment I first fell in love. It was exhilarating. Presence, that's different. It's attention. It's integrity. It's availability. It's showing up as you are, not just who you think you're supposed to be. It demands your real attention. It requires you to be impacted and to let others be impacted by you. Now that's leadership. And that's what we're practicing here at OffScript. Then ask yourself, what kind of leader do I want to be in this room? Or what kind of leader do I want to be in this moment? Or what kind of leader do I want to be in this conversation? You don't have to get this perfect, but that's the point. Do you ever feel like you are leading from a place that just isn't you? Perhaps trying to fit a mold or lead to someone else's expectations. Well, if you feel that way and you're ready to lead from a place of authenticity, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Josh Fisher, and this is OffScript, a leadership podcast for people who don't like leadership podcasts. So here we are. Let's go. All right. So I got to share a few things before we begin. I do have to say that there is nothing easy about launching a podcast. There are enjoyable moments, and those are the moments that I get to think about these episodes, that I get to share with you, get to have conversations and interviews. Those are extremely fun, enjoyable. I learn a lot. But I tell you, everything is challenging in this process and in this journey. But there's one thing that's the most challenging, for me at least, and it may surprise you, maybe it won't surprise you, and maybe you can relate. But the hardest thing that I figured out is, how the hell do I start an episode? Normally, if you go back to all 5 of my other episodes, you hear me say, all right, welcome back, OffScripters, which, maybe that's it. I don't know, share a comment, shoot me an email, do something. If that's it, let me know. If you have a better idea, send that my way too. And I don't want it to be like I'm on a script, but it's like, how do I start these things? I always literally probably record a start of an episode probably 30 times before I'm like, screw it, just say something. So this is me just saying something. But anyways, if this is your first time here, my name is Josh. I'm your host, and I'm excited that you're with me today. And we're going to dive into a fun topic. It's really about presence over perfection. It's what I'm thinking as the new leadership currency, right? But before we kick off, just want to say thank you again for being here, spending your time with me. If you find something valuable in these episodes or the vision of OffScript, please like it, follow, subscribe, rate it, write a review, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Your support and your sharing of this goes a long way, and I'm very grateful for it. And if you want to continue to support the movement, you can check the show notes below and get yourself a copy of the OffScript Journal. And again, that's just a place for you to record your thoughts from each of these episodes that you listen to. So I have a question right off the bat. When was the last time you showed up fully present? Like, not polished, not perfect, not performing, just here as you are. And where is your mind right now? Is it really in this podcast episode, or is it tangled in your to-do list? Perhaps it's stuck in yesterday or even halfway into tomorrow. Think about that. Where is your mind in this moment? Over the past few weeks, I've found myself having quite a few different conversations, deep conversations, whether they were coaching calls, just sidebar conversations. 2 themes keep rising to the surface. The first one is love. Now, this episode isn't really directly about love, but in a way, it's absolutely about love. This episode is about the other theme, presence. Because presence, true, grounded, fully engaged presence, is one of the most powerful expressions of love we can offer. If it's romantic, if it's platonic, or even the kind of love a leader carries for their people. Presence says, I'm with you. I'm not just in the room, I'm in this moment with you. And if you lead people, if you have the ability to influence others, if you guide and lead teams, hold the space, because that is one of the greatest gifts you can give. It's not your title, it's not your strategy, it's not your confidence. It's your attention, your humanity, and your presence. Listen, I am someone who habitually lives in their head, thinking, overthinking, looping back through conversations I wish I handled a little bit better, planning for moments I haven't even lived yet, in this perpetual dream state, this daydreaming state. I catch myself everywhere except here, in this moment, in the now. They say people who struggle with anxiety often live in the past, rehashing what they can't control or what they can't change. And those who wrestle with worry are stuck in the future, trying to control what hasn't even happened yet. And I live in both of those places. The regret of yesterday and the pressure of tomorrow, both always out of reach. And in that tug of war, I've missed the one thing that I can actually touch, and that is this moment, that is right now. And we all have heard the phrase, the reason today is called the present is because it's a gift. Cliche? Yeah, of course. But real? Absolutely, it's real. So let me tell you my opinion. I believe presence is the new leadership flex. It's not charisma, it's not perfection, it's presence. The kind that slows down, that listens, that sees not just what's being said, but what's being felt. And I've lived on both sides of that coin. The mask, polished, high functioning, always on, and the mirror, the raw, the uncertain, but honest. Off script isn't here to help you lead better from performance. It's here to help you lead truer from presence, truth, and emotional integrity. I want to go to that place, that deep place, to share something deeply intimate with you. It's a story of love. It's a story of loss. But more than anything, it's a story of what I found. I remember the moment I first fell in love. It was exhilarating. Sent chills down my spine when I held her. There was this rush. It wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It was something quieter. It was something intoxicating. Like the world paused just for a brief second to let me feel alive. She whispered to me, not in words, but in sounds, soft, subtle, like bubbles dancing on a freshly poured glass of champagne. That little crackle, that fizz, it felt like a secret only I could hear. And when I tasted her, she soothed me. She didn't hit me like thunder. She unfolded. She unfolded gracefully. She wrapped around the tightness that was in my chest and gave that tightness permission to loosen up. She told me that it was okay to rest, even just for a second. There was warmth in her. She hugged me. There was a slow burn, and beneath that bitterness, something sweet, something I didn't know I was starving for until I tasted it. Peace of mind. Because in her presence, I didn't feel awkward. I didn't feel anxious, or I didn't feel too much. But what I did feel was I felt wanted. I felt kind of cool, but I felt whole, more importantly. And it was the first time I could remember feeling safe. And you don't forget a love like that. You return to it time after time. You protect it because it protects you. You start to believe maybe she's the only one who really sees you. And that was the beginning. She didn't just calm me down. She rewired something inside of me. Softened the static, quieted the noise, slowed the chaos, made me feel like me, but lighter, freer, less sharp around the edges. And that's who you want to spend the rest of your life with, right? Someone who makes you feel like you can finally exhale. She had this way of showing up when I needed her most. Always on the bad days, definitely on the boring days, and on the days when the world felt too loud and I just felt too small, which happened more often than I'd like to think. She didn't demand a damn thing from me. She didn't judge me. She didn't tell me I was too much or not enough. And she never told me I was too hard to love. She just made everything quiet. And when you're 9 years old, walking around with a storm in your chest, you don't know how to name it. The quiet feels like heaven. And that love gave me the permission to let go just a little, to laugh a little bit louder, to say things I'd usually swallow, to feel okay in my own skin. She made me feel safe. And when someone gives you that glimpse into that feeling for the first time in your life, and when someone gives you even a glimpse of that feeling for the first time in your life, you never forget it. You chase it, you protect it, and you build your life around it. Because the truth is, I didn't fall in love with a person. I fell in love with a feeling. And what I didn't realize, what it took me years to understand, was that the freedom she gave me also took something from me. She took my awareness, my attention, and she took my presence. She didn't just soothe the pain, she separated me from it. She dulled the noise, yes, but she also dimmed the light. That love, it really began taking root around the age of 16. And by then, it wasn't just a feeling I chased, it was a part of me. It was a ritual, it was a rhythm. The quiet addiction that I called comfort. She walked beside me into manhood, into leadership, into moments that should have been lived in full color, but instead passed by in grayscale. She was always there, before the meetings, after the wins, during the losses, not as a celebration, not as a rebellion, but as a necessity. And even now, even today, when I'm no longer hers, she still grips at me. And even today, when I'm no longer hers, she still grips at me. Not as a habit, but as a memory, not faded, not forgotten, but sealed behind a thin piece of glass, waiting to be broken in case of an emergency. From the age of 16 to about 35, I wasn't really here. I mean, physically, my body was. My resume was, my image definitely was. But me, the real me, that little boy, he was buried under layers of performance, protection, and pain I couldn't name, let alone sit with. You see, alcohol wasn't the problem. It was really the passport. It gave me access to a version of myself I was too afraid to be in the light because I was too afraid to be seen. It gave me access to being relaxed, to being funny, to being social, to being magnetic, to being charismatic, the guy everyone else seemed to be without even trying. And the first time I took a drink, I wasn't chasing rebellion. I didn't even realize I was chasing relief. But that sip, that one sip, Suddenly, the noise inside of me went quiet. The pressure eased. The mask felt lighter. And I remember thinking, oh shit, this is how other people feel all the time? It didn't make me whole, but it made me less. It made me less self-conscious, less like I had to constantly prove that I belonged. That was enough to keep me hooked. And over the years, I mastered it, the discipline, the drive, the degrees. I wore that mask well. I was high functioning. I was high achieving, high performing, and absolutely hollow. And that's the dangerous part about being high functioning. People stop asking, how are you doing? Because you're doing so damn well. But functioning doesn't mean healing. It just means you've become an expert at hiding the wreckage. And underneath all that, I wasn't drinking to celebrate. I was drinking to disappear because I didn't want to be seen or feel. I just wanted to vanish from the version of myself I didn't know how to love. The scared one, the insecure one, the one who didn't feel safe unless he was performing. And what did that cost me? It cost me my presence. It cost me connection, intimacy, joy, trust, peace, everything. I missed everything. Moments with people who loved me. I wasn't there. Laughs that didn't land because I was too guarded to actually laugh with my own gut and my own emotions. I was too numb. I was too blinded by the euphoria of the booze. The opportunities to be known to me, not just respected, but seen. I traded them for image management. I lived as a curated version of myself and convinced myself it was real. And the world rewarded me for it. Promotions, praise, applause, influence. They called it leadership. I called it survival. But behind all that, I was exhausted, unanchored, and I was lost. Because presence, the ability to fully live in the moment, in a conversation, in my own damn skin. Because presence, the ability to fully live in a moment, to be fully in a conversation, to be truly and genuinely engaged, or to be confident enough to truly live in your own damn skin, that is the currency of leadership. And I was broke. It took me almost 2.5 decades to realize you can't lead others if you're absent from yourself. And perfection, it's just presence in a straitjacket. Now, I don't chase the best version of me. I do my damnedest to chase the truest version of me. And that version doesn't need a drink anymore. He just needs space and he needs grace. And I practice giving myself that each and every day. If you have ever felt like you've been here, but not really here, just know I see you. So that story to me is about love, is about loss, but it's more about this thing that I gained. And that what I gained was clarity and awareness and allowed me to be more present as a father, as a friend, as a professional, as a human. And that is a gift that I am grateful for. And I will always be grateful for it. I will say that I'm not perfect. I live in my head, as I said at the beginning of the episode, but I try, and that's the important thing. So I've talked a little bit about presence, which was more in line with absence. Touched on love and what it cost when I wasn't there. So what does this mean in the context of leadership? Let's start by defining two terms that we've danced around. One is perfection. Perfection is curation, it's control, it's leadership as performance. You lead from the outside in, constantly managing perception, always trying to look like you have your shit together, even though you know you are falling apart on the inside. That's what perfection is. It's a chase for something that's unattainable. But what is attainable is this thing called presence. Presence, that's different. It's attention. It's integrity. It's availability. It's showing up as you are, not just who you think you're supposed to be. Presence says, I'm here for this, not as a polished version of myself, but as a whole one. That shift changes everything because presence in leadership looks like this. Presence moves us from performing to listening. And that's not just listening to respond, but listening to understand. We've heard that before. It's not multitasking your way through a one-on-one, but putting your phone down, putting your Teams or Slack messages down, and putting your mask down and being with a person that is sitting in front of you. In the Marine Corps, we used to call that kneecap to kneecap for a specific reason. Presence moves us from control to connection, from trying to make every outcome perfect to trusting that a relationship matters more than a script. It's letting go of needing to know it all and instead showing you care enough to ask better questions. And maybe most powerfully, it shifts us from proving to being, from constantly trying to prove our value, our worth, our leadership chops, to being rooted in something a little bit deeper, or maybe a lot deeper. I don't have to prove that I'm enough. I just have to show up as I am and lead from there, because that's the important piece, is being present and being there. There's this myth out there that presence makes you soft. At least I've heard that if you're tuned in, that if you're too emotional, or you're too available, you're too reflective, you're too introspective, you lose your edge. But I can tell you, and I can speak from experience, that those things, the being tuned in, being emotional, or being introspective, or being reflective, or engaging, or being present, it's not soft. It's one of the hardest things that I've ever done and that I attempt to do each and every day, and not always successful. But being present takes presence, is one of the hardest and most courageous choices that anybody can make, because it asks you to be seen. It demands your real attention. It requires you to be impacted and to let others be impacted by you. Now that's leadership. And that's what we're practicing here at OffScript. So how does this show up in your real life? In conflict. What does that presence look like? If you find yourself in conflict, presence looks like pausing for a moment. It's not reacting from that adrenaline rush or the ego to be right, but taking a breath, letting that nervous system settle down a little bit. What does presence look like in meetings? It looks like the appreciation of silence over scripts. It looks like listening over speaking. You don't have to fill the space to prove you're smart. Sometimes the best thing that you can do as a leader is to hold the space, to let the room breathe, to give someone else a voice. I once heard a quote, and I say it now jokingly, but probably laced with a little bit of honesty. It's something like, I'd rather sit quietly in the corner and not say something and appear to look stupid than to open my mouth and remove all doubt. Now that's pretty funny. What does presence look like in mentoring? It's not about giving that polished advice or having a perfect framework. It's really just about being with somebody. It's about listening. It's about asking curious questions to learn more about their situation, who they are. And it goes back to that other saying, it's not about being interesting, it's about being interested. So asking questions to learn, to hear perspective, and feeling the weight of their words. What are they saying to you? And feeling that. And making them feel seen and not managed in that moment. So here's my off-script challenge to you. Before you walk into your next meeting, or before you step into that next hard conversation, or you walk into any high-stakes moment, my challenge to you is to stop for 90 seconds. I want you to close your eyes. Breathe deep into your belly. They call that diaphragmatic breathing. Blow up your belly. And then scan your body, starting at your toes, go to your head, or start at your head. But I want you to feel each part of your body, and I want you to recognize and notice where the tension lives. And I want you to recognize that tension, and I want you to let it go. And then ask yourself, what kind of leader do I want to be in this room? Or what kind of leader do I want to be in this moment? Or what kind of leader do I want to be in this conversation? You don't have to get this perfect, but that's the point. This isn't about becoming some enlightened, always present version of yourself. Like, that is very hard to do and probably nearly impossible. But it's about noticing when you leave the space and then practice coming back to it. Presence is a practice. It's one breath, it's one choice, it's one honest moment at a time. And you're not here to perform leadership, you're here to live it. And I'm right here with you, flaws and all. All right, folks. It's that time in the podcast. That's right. It's time for the journal prompt. Here we go. Here it is. In what parts of your life are you hiding behind perfection? And what would it look like to show up fully present instead? In what part of your life are you hiding behind perfection? And what would it look like to show up fully present instead? So that's your prompt right there. Hope you take a moment to think about it, to write about it. Maybe you learned something. Go share it with somebody. And don't forget, grab the link in the show notes below to get your copy of the Off Script Journal. Your support means the world to me. So before we leave, I want you to think about this. Presence over perfection isn't just a mantra. It's not a catchy phrase for your LinkedIn bio, although you can put it there. I'm pretty sure it's good. But presence, in my opinion, is the next evolution of leadership. It's where we stop performing and we start actually leading. It's where we stop performing and start actually leading from the inside out. I hope something in this episode resonated with you. If it made you pause, if it made you reflect or breathe a little bit deeper, I want to ask for 3 small things to make a big difference. Please take a moment to rate and review the show. It helps this message reach more people who need it. Subscribe or follow so you don't miss future episodes as we keep building this movement together. Share this with just one leader in your life, someone who's carrying a lot, someone who might be chasing perfection, or someone who needs a reminder that their presence is enough. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, and if you're ready to reconnect with your truth and lead from it, again, grab a copy of the Off Script Journal, engage with these journal prompts, and learn through your journey of discovery. That link is waiting for you in the show notes below. So folks, thanks for being here. Thanks for being present with me. And thanks for spending your most valuable commodity with me, and that is your time. So until we meet again, please continue to lead off script.